being understanding of everyone's situation, that's the side of the spectrum that I land on. But at some point, to the detriment of the team, you can do this. If you continue to give chance after chance after chance, and this person just takes advantage of these opportunities you're giving them, your team starts looking at you less like just a good guy that's trying to take care of people, and more like, hey man, you're putting me in a bind and you're not holding this guy accountable. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Art of Suffering podcast with Dalton Darnell. It's our Friday episode. This is the progressive overload for the week. The topic for today is something I kind of been on the fence sharing. It's developing. It's just something that is kind of ongoing in my life, but I'm just going to talk through it with you guys because maybe there's some of you that are dealing with this too. We're going to talk about the guy who just isn't quite getting it. The person in your life, or maybe it's you, that just is not turning from where they were and what we should do. Biblically, what does it say we should do? And there's a passage of scripture that I kind of refer to on this, and I'm specifically talking about in my business life, because I manage 7 or 8 people there that work at the rope shop, and then you're talking about dealing with people's livelihoods and giving someone the benefit of the doubt, right? Being understanding of everyone's situation that's the side of the spectrum that I land on. I am always looking for the reason to give you the benefit of the doubt, like to give you the good deal. Because I've been in hard spots and people have given me the benefit of the doubt, and it's really helped me out. But at some point, to the detriment of the team, you can do this. If you continue to give chance after chance after chance, and this person just takes advantage of these opportunities you're giving them, your team starts looking at you less like just a good guy that's trying to take care of people, and more like, hey man, you're putting me in a bind and you're not holding this guy accountable. And so your team is going to meet the standard that you set, the good people on your team. And what happens if you allow mediocrity to infiltrate your team, your good team members are going to get really irritated if you're allowing this. And they're going to leave because they're not being appreciated. They're not being helped as much as they could be because you're allowing someone to just kind of be a puke. You know what I'm saying? And when I say team, I'm applying this to my people at work, but this also applies to your household, to your children, and to your friends, to everyone around you. If you got a guy in the group that is negative, irresponsible, undisciplined, what should we do? And so I always refer back to the part of the Bible where Jesus is sending his disciples out 2 by 2. And he's sending them out to preach to the Jews. And he's talking to Jews, but he's sending them out to speak to their people. And he partners them up. And the part that I'm referring to is when he tells them, he says, go to each home. If they invite you in, give them what I've given you. If they receive this, leave your blessing upon this home and go to the next home. If they don't receive this, wipe your feet at the door. It's better to be Sodom and Gomorrah than that home on the day of judgment. And so if we look at people like homes, individual homes, I think that's what he's telling us to do. Now, this is just how I've applied it in my own life. You kind of got to read into some of those parables and stuff, but this is the one time that I've found in the Gospels where Jesus is literally telling them exactly what to do. There's not a whole lot of reading into it. There's not a whole lot of guessing. There's not a whole lot of comparison. It's like, hey, go out there. If they receive what I've given you, give it to them. If they don't, leave and don't worry about it. And then in Acts, Paul says, I've preached the gospel to its fullest, and I wash my hands of your blood. And what he's saying is that you can give it to somebody, but if they don't receive it, that's not on you. They have to internally check themselves to the point of change, of true transformation. And so what I got going on right now is I got a guy missing a lot of work. And when he does come to work, he leaves early. And he's had some stuff going on in his house, issues in his marriage, with his children, with his vehicle, like just all these sorts of things that are easy to be empathetic for me. But now we're starting to teeter on the edge of maybe taking advantage, right? Maybe lying a little bit. And the really incredible members of my team are like, hey man, what is up with this guy? And you see right now in January for the rope shop, we get really slow, January and February. So if you want to go buy a rope, help me out. We get really slow this time of year. But in March, when branding season starts, it starts getting crazy. Like the busiest time of year for us is March to May. And so my dilemma is this. Is my guy going to turn around, start really looking in the mirror and change a little bit, and start coming back to work and doing a good job? Or do I need to replace him and hire somebody new that we can get trained before March? Because if we don't have somebody trained before March, we're in a pickle. So my shop manager, Madison, is on the latter end of this. She's like, hey man, we can't leave our guys in a pickle. And I get it. But I've been thinking about this all week. I've been thinking about how to handle this situation. And for us in our personal lives, there's really two schools of thought on this. There's the people who are like, I'll cut them loose immediately. And that used to be me until Jesus changed my heart. Like I was very quick just to be like, get out, dude. You're not doing your job. And I used to have very little tolerance for that, for somebody just not being a good member of the team and just being sorry, just to be sorry. But now I operate with this understanding that you either know your identity or you don't know your identity. And if you don't know your identity, it's hard for me to hold you accountable anymore because you don't know. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you're supposed to do. And so that's the way I'm looking at this situation. But at some point, allowing someone to take advantage of you is not good either. It's not good for you and it's not good for them. It's not good for them. And I've heard Philip Anthony Mitchell, who's a preacher in Atlanta, he's a guy I listen to quite a bit. I've heard him say, pray them into the hands of the devil. If they're not turning from their ways, man, freaking Lord, wreck them. Just wreck them. And that's another thing. I don't know how this guy wouldn't already be wrecked. And our personal capacity for suffering or self-induced suffering are just, they're totally different. Because I'm at a point in my life now to where if things start sucking a little bit, I am running to the King. I'm like, Lord, help me. Help me. And in talking about it out loud right here, looking at this camera, maybe God has already said it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe God has already been like, I told you what to do in Matthew. Jesus told his disciples what to do. You're a disciple of Jesus. You know what to do. Wipe your feet at the door. Cut them loose. But there's all these other passages, right? There's all these other things that he says to do. And I will say this. I'll say this. If there's 8 people that work for me, the other 7, have received the information and their lives are being changed in an unbelievably deep way. Unbelievably deep way. They are turning from where they were and walking with the Spirit. And so maybe that's the gauge. Maybe that's the gauge in which, because people making mistakes is just part of life. That's just part of being around people. And that's what makes people hard to love, is that they're imperfect. But there's a pretty clear difference between a guy making a mistake and not changing, or not paying attention to the mistake, or not receiving counsel on the failure, and what we have going on here. Because I just can't hardly tolerate somebody being lazy. I just can't hardly tolerate it. And I got this one guy that works for me, man. He was on an episode of the podcast. His name was Justin. And guys, if y'all knew the guy that I met the day we interviewed him compared to the man that I am walking life with now, it's unfreaking believable what God can do with a guy in a very short period of time. You take a guy that's at the end of his rope and you let God infiltrate that heart, the things that are happening in this guy's life, the ways that he's been able to change, it's unbelievable. It's so freaking cool to me. And that's kind of what makes me hang on to the other. But he's not receiving it, man. I mean, just like full spiritual discernment. He's just like we did a Bible study 2 weeks ago, and Justin is sitting there just burning a hole through my skull listening to what I'm saying. So is everyone else. We do it at lunch on Tuesdays, and my man falls asleep on the couch. Which, hey, I fell asleep in class and church and all kinds of stuff when I was younger. But we're not talking about a young person here. We're talking about a grown person with bills and responsibilities and a reason to change. I'm just not seeing that. I'm not seeing it. And in my flesh, I don't like to let people down. I don't like to, hurt people. And that's what, you're talking about, letting somebody go. You're talking about somebody getting fired from their job for lack of performance, which is a thing. If you don't work, you don't eat. It says that in Proverbs. So it's really tough. It's really tough. But I want you to think about this person in your life. It might be your kid. It might be your brother. It might be your parents or a grandparent of your children, right? Or it might be the people you manage at work or the guys you're around at work. But at some point, to the detriment of the team, you allowing just someone to just take advantage of the goodwill, of the grace, right? It'll hurt you. Because the fact of the matter is, I have a business to run. I mean, I need people to come to work, and I need them to work hard. And that's just how it works. That's just how it is. Like, we don't own a ranch or anything, and that kind of work is more fun to me than what we do at the rope shop. But the principle remains the same, is that we got a lot to do. If you're going to maintain the standard that we've created, the team that you have is vitally important. They have to come in with the same standards that I have, with the same mindset that I have, and they have to go to it. They have to work hard. You just can't be a puke. And so like Madison and Alyssa and Justin and Tim and Caden and Johnny and those 7 guys are getting after it. They come in with the mentality that I have. And they've adopted this. And they didn't have that mentality when they started. But then we got the one. right? And is the one the lost sheep, and is it for me to save them? No. I can only give them what God has given me. And then it's on him to turn and go, all right, Lord, I'm yours. But just like everything else we talk about on this stinking podcast, it's so easy to say and it's so hard to do. It's so much easier to say than it is to do. So it puts you in this conundrum, in this little pickle where you're like, man, I just don't know. I don't know. And I've counseled restraint to Madison and to Justin because they get pissed. They get frustrated. And I get it because people let you down. And they're learning what their true identity is. They're learning what their mission is. And so I'm counseling them in the way that's like, hey, man, we've all been that guy. We've all been that guy. So think about the good things. Focus on the good and ignore the bad. But at some point, the bad becomes impossible to ignore, and you have to shine light on it. You have to have that conversation. So, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I know what I need to do. But I'm also pretty sure that there's somebody in your life that's exactly like this. And you're having this same battle within yourself. Because it's hard to do, especially if you're a follower of the King. If you're a follower of the King, this becomes harder every time because you're like, when's the next chance this guy's going to get to hear the good news? And then you almost feel like you're kicking a guy while he's down because he's down, right? Truck's broke down, can't get to work. At least that's the excuse. Is that real or not? Does it matter if it's real or not? Is it on me to decide, or is it on me to just go, no, man, come on back when you're ready? Do I have this conversation with him, even though I feel like I've had this conversation with him 3 or 4 times? But this all boils down to spiritual discernment and just listening to what God's saying. If God's saying, hey, man, it's time, cut them loose. Like, you have to protect the herd, protect your team. It's very difficult to run a business and be a believer, a for-profit business. It's very difficult to hold people to a standard when they're in a transformation. And the reason why it's difficult is because you know what's on the other side of the change. If they do truly choose to change, there'll be a whole new being at the other side of it. But if there's no change, if you're not seeing any change, it's tough. It feels a bit like a rejection, right? And what's he say to do? Wipe your feet at the door. So maybe that's what I need to do, is wipe my feet at the door and be on to the next one. Because I got responsibilities that I have to fulfill. And if my team at work doesn't come to work and do their job, I can't fulfill my responsibilities. My responsibilities to the podcast, to 310 EDU, to my clinic students, to 310 itself, and to my family. And I've told guys in there before, I'm like, don't make me choose between you and my family. Like, if you're creating an environment to where I'm having to work overtime to come in and do your job, I'm just going to cut you loose and find someone who wants to do your job, because my ultimate responsibility is to my wife and my children. And there's a reasonable amount of work that I'm going to put in, which is way more than the American standard. Like 40 hours a week, dude, we got way more in us than that. But once I hit that reasonable amount of work threshold, it's my family time. That's why y'all don't find me picking up the phone after, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Because it's me and Wiley and Waylon time. You know what I'm saying? So I will show restraint in that part of my life. Like, dude, I ain't picking up that phone after 5 o'clock. I just ain't going to do it. Like, the ropes can wait. Y'all got to call me at lunch or something. But I don't know. I'm sure everyone listening is struggling with this to some degree or another. A person in their life that's just kind of taking advantage of the grace that Christ has given you, and you are now giving it to other people. And any time you're being that way, whether it's with your finances or your time, people by nature are just going to take advantage of these things. And that's okay. It's okay. As long as we put in the effort we're supposed to put in, I think it's okay. And I'm not going to lose a wink of sleep once I make the decision, because God's guiding this boat. So if it's on my heart, it's Him. Because I am in tune with the King, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, so I guess my progressive overload for the week is critically think about the people in your life. Are they receiving the message? Do they need more time? Do they need someone else to offer them the message? Is it time for them to depart from your path? And are you in control of this? Because if it's having a negative effect on the people that God has given you to steward, you might have to make the hard decision. That's part of being a leader. That's part of being a leader. I look at this in the same way when my children start dating people. Really critically looking at who they're dating. That's the second book. The first book is, we're talking about sending it to a publisher, so y'all might see that soon. But the second book is about your identity in dating and what that looks like. And my goal is for my sons to have a very clear understanding of this before they go into that world, but we all know how teenage boys get. But them being able to spiritually discern whether someone is good for them or not, that's a difficult thing. I didn't learn that for a very long time. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you're having this issue, if you have someone in your life that is just kind of, it might be time to part ways and go on to the next one. In the Bible, it says wipe your feet at the door. Wipe your feet at the door, and it's better to be Sodom and Gomorrah than that house on the day of judgment, which that's the part that scares me. That's the part that spooks me. But it is important that we take care of what God has given us to steward, and we do offer what Jesus gave us. But we can't make a guy change. You can't make anybody change. And that's important to remember. Guys, as always, thank you so much for listening and watching. If you need me, reach out. Dalton at 310edu.com is my email address. I love you. Never weaken.